Don't make this a bigger deal than it needs to be. We'll talk after the holidays. Those were the last words my fiancée said before she walked out of our apartment on December 23rd, leaving me standing in our living room with a suitcase at my feet and a ring that suddenly felt like dead weight in my pocket. I'm 26. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. The wedding was set for Valentine's Day weekend. Everything was paid for, invitations sent, venues booked. Her family had already started arriving in town for Christmas, planning to stay through New Year's before heading back home. By December 30th, I'd canceled everything. Let me back up. The suitcase wasn't mine. It was hers. I'd come home early from work that Friday, planning to surprise her with tickets to see the Nutcracker that evening. She'd mentioned wanting to go weeks ago, but we'd both been too busy with wedding planning and holiday prep. I figured it would be a nice break from the stress. Instead, I found her in our bedroom, methodically packing clothes into a carry-on. Going somewhere, I asked from the doorway. She jumped, hand flying to her chest. Jesus, you scared me. What are you doing home? I live here. Your turn. She zipped the suitcase closed with more force than necessary. I'm going to spend a few days at the cabin with some friends. We planned it months ago, remember? I didn't remember. What cabin? Trevor's family cabin. Up in the mountains. I told you about this. Trevor, her co-worker from the marketing firm where she worked. Trevor, who was recently divorced. Trevor, who'd been texting her at all hours for the past 3 months. Trevor, whose name made her phone light up during dinner, during movies, during the rare moments when we actually had time together. You definitely didn't tell me about this, I said, keeping my voice level. She sighed, the kind of sigh that said she was already exhausted by this conversation. I did. You probably weren't listening. You've been so distracted with work lately. Our wedding is in 7 weeks, which is exactly why I need a break. She grabbed the suitcase handle. Everything is wedding this, wedding that. I just need a few days to decompress with friends before the holidays get crazy. What friends? Trevor, obviously. And some people from work. Melissa, David, maybe a couple others. How many is a couple? Does it matter? It did matter. It mattered a lot. But I could feel the conversation slipping into an argument, and I was trying to avoid that. When are you leaving? In about an hour. We're driving up tonight. Tonight? It's supposed to snow. We'll be fine. Trevor has a truck. Of course he did. I stood there, watching her check her reflection in the mirror above our dresser, fixing her hair like she was getting ready for a date instead of a friendly cabin trip. She looked beautiful. She always did. That was part of the problem. I'd spent 4 years being so grateful that someone like her had chosen someone like me that I'd ignored every red flag along the way. When will you be back? I asked. After Christmas. Probably the 27th or 28th. Your parents are coming. They'll understand. They're not even arriving until Christmas Eve anyway. What am I supposed to tell them? She shrugged, slinging her purse over her shoulder. Tell them I needed some space. Tell them whatever you want. They like you better than me anyway. That wasn't true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Her parents had been nothing but kind to me since day one. Her mom called me her bonus son. Her dad and I watched football together every Sunday during the season. I don't think this is a good idea, I said quietly. Noted. She walked past me toward the door. I followed her into the living room. Can we talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. I'm going on a trip with friends. I'll be back in a few days. Don't make this a bigger deal than it needs to be. A few days before Christmas, spending time with your male coworker at a remote cabin instead of with your fiancé definitely isn't a big deal. She turned around so fast I almost bumped into her. Are you seriously doing this right now? Are you actually going to be that guy? What guy? The jealous, controlling guy who can't handle his girlfriend having male friends. Fiancé, I corrected. And I'm not being controlling. I'm asking reasonable questions about why you're suddenly disappearing for 4 days without discussing it with me first. I don't need your permission to spend time with my friends. I didn't say you did, but we're supposed to be partners. Partners communicate. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Right? Like how you communicated when you agreed to work through Christmas without asking me. That was one shift on Christmas Eve, and I told you about it 2 weeks ago. Whatever. She adjusted her purse strap. I'm leaving. We'll talk after the holidays. We should talk now. I don't want to fight before I leave. We're already fighting. She opened the door, cold December air rushing into our warm apartment. Then I guess there's nothing left to say. And she was gone. I stood in the empty living room for probably 20 minutes, just staring at the Christmas tree we'd decorated together the previous weekend. White lights, silver ornaments, a tree topper she'd inherited from her grandmother. Under it were presents I'd already wrapped for her. A cashmere sweater she'd been eyeing. A first edition of her favorite book. Tickets to Paris for our honeymoon. My phone buzzed. A text from her mom. So excited to see you both tomorrow. We're leaving early to beat traffic. Should be there by 3. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. I'd taken the week off specifically to spend time with our families. We'd planned a whole schedule. Christmas Eve dinner with her parents, Christmas morning with mine, a big combined dinner on the 26th with both families meeting for the first time since our engagement party. I texted back, sounds good. Drive safe. I didn't mention that her daughter had just left town with another man. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, expecting a text, a call, something. Nothing came. Around 2 a.m., I finally broke down and sent her a message. Did you make it safely? 3 hours later, she responded, yes. Stop worrying. Christmas Eve was torture. Her parents arrived right on schedule, arms full of presents and homemade cookies. Her mom hugged me tight, smelling like sugar cookies and expensive perfume. Where's our girl? She asked, looking around the apartment. I'd spent the entire morning preparing for this question. She had a work thing come up last minute. She'll be back in a few days. Her dad frowned. Work? On Christmas Eve. It's a marketing thing. Year-end campaign stuff. The lies came easier than they should have. She didn't mention it when we talked yesterday, her mom said, concern creasing her forehead. It was very last minute. They stayed for dinner anyway. I'd ordered Italian from the nice place downtown, set the table with our good dishes, tried to make everything feel normal. Her mom kept glancing at her phone, clearly wanting to text her daughter, but holding back. Her dad made small talk about the wedding, asking about final headcounts and seating arrangements. Every question felt like a knife. Around 9 p.m., after they'd left for their hotel, I poured myself a whiskey and sat down at my laptop. I pulled up our wedding planning spreadsheet. She'd color-coded everything, organized it all by vendor and deadline and payment schedule. The final payment for the venue was due January 5th. The caterer needed a final headcount by January 10th. The photographer needed the shot list by the 15th. I opened my email and started typing. Christmas Day was worse. My family loved her. My mom had already started calling her daughter, and my little sister worshipped her. We did Christmas morning at my parents' house, and every gift I opened came with questions about her whereabouts. She's not feeling well, I told them. Caught something at work. My mom wanted to bring her soup. My sister wanted to FaceTime her. I deflected, made excuses, felt like a complete fraud. That evening, I finally got a real text from her. Merry Christmas. Hope your day was good. I stared at it for a long time before responding. When are you coming home? Soon. Miss you. But she didn't say when. And she didn't call. December 26th was the big combined family dinner we'd planned. Both families at a nice restaurant downtown, everyone getting to know each other better before the wedding. I canceled it that morning, claiming a stomach bug was making the rounds. Her mom called me directly. Honey, is everything okay? I feel like something's off. I almost told her everything right then. Almost explained that her daughter had chosen to spend Christmas at a cabin with another man instead of with the family who loved her. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. Everything's fine. I lied. Just bad timing with this bug. Have you talked to her? She's not answering my calls. I'm sure she's just busy with work stuff. On Christmas. I had no answer for that. That night, I sent her a longer message. We need to talk. This isn't okay. You've been gone for 3 days, missed Christmas with both families, and I'm running out of excuses to give everyone. Whatever this is, we need to address it. She called me an hour later. Background noise suggested she was at a bar or restaurant. Music, voices, laughter. You're being dramatic, she said. No hello, no warmth. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, my fiancé abandoned me right before Christmas to spend time with another man. Trevor is not another man. He's my friend. Friends don't usually require multi-day cabin trips. You're being ridiculous. Then come home, and we'll talk about how ridiculous I'm being. Silence. Long enough that I thought she'd hung up. I'll be back tomorrow, she finally said. Promise. Yes, I promise. She didn't come back on the 27th. I called her that evening. No answer. I texted. Nothing. Around 10 p.m., she finally sent a message. Something came up. Staying one more night. Be back tomorrow for sure. That's when I knew. I spent December 28th making calls. First to the wedding venue. The manager was sympathetic but firm about the cancellation policy. We'd lose our deposit, but at least we wouldn't be on the hook for the full amount since we were canceling more than 30 days out. Then the caterer. Then the photographer. Then the florist. the DJ, the cake baker, the transportation company. Each conversation felt both terrible and liberating. The hardest call was to my mom. I told her everything. The cabin, Trevor, the lies, the distance that had been growing between us for months. She cried. Then she got angry. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding. Are you sure about this? Maybe it's just cold feet. Wedding stress. Mom, she chose to spend Christmas with another man instead of with me. With our families. That's not cold feet. That's a choice. What are you going to do? I've already done it. The wedding's canceled. Does she know? Not yet. Honey, she'll find out when she comes back. If she comes back. She came back on December 29th, late afternoon. I was sitting on the couch when she walked in, dragging her suitcase behind her. Hey, she said brightly, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just disappeared for 6 days. I'm back. God, I'm exhausted. That drive was brutal. I didn't stand up. Didn't move. She noticed. What's wrong? The wedding's canceled. The words hung in the air between us. She blinked, processing. What? I canceled the wedding. The venue. The caterer. All of it. It's done. Her face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, disbelief, anger. You did what? I ended it. While you were off playing house with Trevor. We weren't. This is insane. You can't just cancel our wedding without talking to me. Kind of like how you can't just disappear for 6 days without discussing it with your partner. I finally stood up. Oh wait, you can. You did. I told you I needed space. For 6 days? Over Christmas? That's not needing space. That's checking out of our relationship. She dropped her suitcase, hands on her hips. So your solution is to cancel our entire wedding? Without even giving me a chance to explain? Explain what? That you prioritized another man over your fiancé during the holidays? That you lied to our families? That you've been emotionally distant for months and I've been too afraid to call you on it? Trevor is just a friend. I don't care if he's the Pope. You chose to spend Christmas with him instead of me. What does that tell you about where your priorities are? She sat down heavily on the arm of the couch. I needed time to think. About what? About us. About the wedding. About whether I'm ready for all of this. There it was. The truth I'd been avoiding. And I asked quietly. And I don't know. Everything's been moving so fast. The engagement, the planning, the pressure from our families. I just needed to step back and breathe. So you stepped back into Trevor's arms? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, because I've spent 6 days trying to figure out how the woman I love could do this to me. And I keep coming up empty. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I think I made a mistake. My heart stopped. What kind of mistake? Saying yes. To the proposal. I love you, but I don't know if I'm in love with you anymore. And I didn't know how to tell you that. So I just ran. The room felt very small suddenly. Very quiet. How long have you felt this way? I asked. I don't know. Months? It's been gradual. We got engaged because it felt like the next step, you know? For years together, we're the right age, our families get along. It made sense on paper, but not in your heart. She shook her head, tears falling faster now. I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner. I should have been honest instead of running away. Yeah, I said. You should have. We sat in silence for a while. Outside, people were setting up for New Year's Eve parties. Inside, our relationship was ending. What happens now? She finally asked. Now you get to explain to everyone why there's no wedding. Your parents are still in town. They're expecting to see you tomorrow for New Year's Eve dinner. You want me to tell them? I think you should. They deserve to hear the truth from you, not from me. This is really it. You're not even going to fight for us. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. When had that happened? When had we stopped being partners and started being two people just going through the motions? I would fight for us if I thought there was an us worth fighting for, I said. But you just told me you're not in love with me anymore. What am I supposed to fight for? The chance to marry someone who isn't sure they want to marry me. She didn't have an answer for that. She packed more bags that night, took more of her things. Said she'd come back for the rest later, after the holidays, after the dust settled. I helped her carry boxes to her car, felt the weight of 4 years dissolving into nothing. Before she left, she turned to me one last time. I really am sorry. You deserved better than this. Yeah, I agreed. I did. December 30th, I woke up alone in our apartment. Her side of the bed was empty, her toothbrush gone from the bathroom, half the closet cleared out. I made coffee, sat on the couch, and started making a list of everyone I needed to contact about the canceled wedding. My phone rang. Her mom. She told us, her mom said without preamble. Her voice was thick with tears. I can't believe. We had no idea she was feeling this way. Neither did I. We're so sorry. You're such a good man, and you didn't deserve this. Thank you for saying that. Her father wants to talk to you, but he's too angry at her right now to be coherent. Can we take you to dinner? Please? We still consider you family, wedding or no wedding. I agreed, mostly because I didn't want to be alone. Dinner with her parents was surreal. They apologized profusely for their daughter's behavior, tried to explain it away as cold feet or stress, but I could see in their eyes that they knew the truth. She'd made a choice, and it wasn't me. Her dad picked up the check, shook my hand with tears in his eyes. You're going to find someone who deserves you, he said. Someone who's sure. New Year's Eve, I spent alone. My family wanted me to come over, but I needed the silence. I needed to sit with the wreckage of what we'd built and figure out how to start over. At midnight, while the city exploded in celebration outside my window, I took off the ring I'd been wearing since the engagement and put it back in its box. Closed the lid. Put it in a drawer. My phone buzzed with messages, friends, family, everyone checking in. But there was one message that caught my attention. From her. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. For all of it. You deserved honesty, and I gave you confusion and pain instead. I hope you can forgive me someday. And I hope you find someone who's sure about you from day one, because you deserve that. I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. I hope you figure out what you want. And I hope when you do, you have the courage to be honest about it from the start. Take care of yourself. She didn't respond. January brought phone calls from vendors I'd missed, friends who hadn't heard the news, distant relatives confused about the canceled save the dates. Each conversation was a small wound, reopening the larger injury. But there were good moments too. My sister helped me pack up the apartment, separating my stuff from hers, boxing up 4 years of shared memories. My mom brought over frozen meals and practical advice. My dad took me to a basketball game and didn't mention the wedding once. My best friend from college called me up one night. I have to tell you something, he said. Go ahead. I never liked her for you. I always thought you could do better, but I didn't say anything because you seemed happy. I was happy, or I thought I was. Happiness shouldn't require that much work, man. Real love shouldn't feel like you're constantly proving yourself worthy. That hit harder than I expected. I found out through mutual friends that she and Trevor started officially dating in mid-January. Part of me wanted to be angry, to feel vindicated in my suspicions, but mostly I just felt tired. She was someone else's problem now. By February, the month that should have been our wedding, I'd moved into a new apartment across town. Smaller, quieter, just mine. I painted the walls colors I liked, bought furniture that fit my taste, created a space that didn't hold ghosts of a relationship I'd outgrown. Valentine's Day, the day we should have gotten married, I spent hiking with a couple of friends. We didn't talk about what the day was supposed to be. We just walked, enjoyed the winter air, stopped for burgers on the way home. One of my friends asked how I was doing. Better, I said, and I meant it. The truth is, I'd spent 4 years being so afraid of losing her that I'd lost myself instead. I'd molded myself into whoever she needed me to be, ignored red flags because I didn't want to rock the boat, accepted breadcrumbs of affection, and called it love. Canceling that wedding was the best decision I could have made. Because somewhere out there is someone who won't make me guess, who won't need to escape to a cabin with another man to figure out if she wants to marry me, who'll be sure about me from day one, just like I'll be sure about her. And when I find her, I'll know what real love feels like. Not the kind that requires convincing or proving or chasing, but the kind that just is. Easy, certain, right. Until then, I'm learning to be okay on my own. Learning to like the person I am when I'm not trying to be who someone else needs. Learning that being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel lonely. Her parents still text me sometimes. Her mom sent me a birthday card. Her dad invited me to a game. I declined politely, but I appreciated the gesture. I heard she and Trevor broke up in March. Apparently, what works as an escape fantasy doesn't always work as reality. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing that news. I didn't feel anything, really. She was a chapter in my life, but the book isn't over. I'm 26 years old, living in a city I love, with a job I'm good at and friends who actually care about me. The wedding I canceled would have been the worst mistake of my life. Instead, it's a bullet dodged, a lesson learned, a foundation for something better. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from what you thought you wanted and trust that something better is waiting. Sometimes canceling the wedding is the only way to save yourself. And sometimes, the trash takes itself out. You just have to be strong enough to close the door behind it.